Greetings. This is iVideo. My name is John Savers. I'm your host. And today we will take another look at the interesting subject of immigration, its policy, the implications, why we have this immigration policy we have today, what we had in the past, what we may have in the future. Now, for those of you new to iVideo, this is a program which looks at history broadly defined and tries to get a better understanding of what is happening, what happened, how something came into being. We might look at war, we might look at peace, science, art, religion, economics. The world is our oyster. So we only have this to say. Primarily, we are going to try to find sources of information which are not those commonly understood by the populace who are given information by the media, which is very controlled by a small elite, which is not without its angles, shall we say. We want to present a rounder view. We want people to have an understanding of this matter, what contrary arguments there are, to weigh these arguments and to weigh what, say, Fib Graham at the Washington Post might propagate. See which is best, see which is wise, see where you would like to yourself finally plant your feet and say, this is my place, my home, this is where I stand. So with this in mind, let us then go forth. Moscow's strategy requires constant movement of its political armies into the United States. Every Soviet leader of any consequence has at some time referred to the U.S. as the citadel of capitalism, which must be conquered before the whole world can fall under the domination of communism. Conquest of America is the ultimate goal in the Kremlin's plan for total victory over all of humanity. Now, this is a citation from Conquest via Immigration by Colonel Archibald Roosevelt, page 3. Now, Colonel Roosevelt is an interesting person and again shows how the Most High can deliver someone even from the most evil of families. In the wake of the Bolshevik Revolution, communist groups were organized throughout the world. They were being forged into revolutionary armies which had as their aim the conquest of power in whatever nation they were situated. These political armies were labeled as communist parties to give them a designation which entitled them to pose as just another political party. Lenin, as Red Dictator, openly admitted that communist parties are political armies of conquest when he wrote of the duties of communist members, stating that they are bound to observe all the laws and customs of the active army which they joined and which they have no right to quit in wartime without leave by the authorities. By wartime, Lenin meant the subversive processes leading to the overthrow of society. With these political armies all over the world, however, the Kremlin leaders had a number of perplexing problems. Oftentimes, there would be a critical situation in one part of the world which could lead to the capture of power by communists. But often it was found that there would not be sufficient numbers of skilled revolutionists there to bring about an overthrow. Consequently, means had to be found to move in additional forces from the outside. The biggest obstacles to moving new red forces into an area were immigration barriers to outsiders. This is a citation from Conquest via Immigration by Colonel Archibald Roosevelt, page 3. Well, I have stated, and it's a fact, that out of the USSR and out of East Europe came Jews who immigrated to the United States, perhaps in a legal mode or simply just showed up. Sometimes they kept names which signified Jews, but at other times they changed their names to names such as Graham or names such as Albright or Smith or Jones or something of this sort. So that they had both an overt and clandestine wing to them. They were the children of Marxists. Armand Hammer's father was one of the two organizers of the Communist Party in the United States. They ever worked toward consolidating power here in the United States. They became helped along the way by Freemasons. They were also helped by financiers such as the Jacob Schiff sort. If Jacob Schiff was willing to give $20 million in gold to Lenin and his crew to overthrow the Tsar, it is certain that he and others of his ilk would also give money, however it was gotten to them, to the children of communism who had immigrated to the United States. And this created both the wherewithal to agitate, to bribe, to bring into the fold, to become the leaders, and so forth, to go into the government as workers, bureaucrats, to go into law and every other place where it could be useful. I have stated, and it's a fact, that over half the donations to the Democrat Party comes from Jews. There is an expression which even the dumbest college student can probably understand. He who pays the piper calls the tune. Most of these people believe Fib Graham and his ilk in the media when they say, Marxism is dead. Communism failed thanks to Ronald Reagan, 32-degree Freemason. Well, don't believe it. The United States itself has become a Marxist country, and it is characterized by everything that was put forth as a point in the Communist Manifesto. And not only that, it dovetails very beautifully with the Revelation depiction of the final time in which the land of Zion is invaded from the north. And the United States is invaded from the north, south, east, and west already. A coup d'etat has occurred, and there's no doubt, unless you're a Dummkopf of the Protestant Masonic type, or deceitful as they are, to suppose that there is any place other than the promised land here, which is the prophetic Zion, which would be invaded. So we have it here, we have it now. It's actually been going on for 50, 60, 70 years in a big way, post-World War II for sure. And this is why we have come to have the policies we have. As the Bible says, aliens are being put high and the sons of Israel put low. And part of the reason is the sons of Israel have not recognized their God, and until they do in their position, they will not be helped. But let's go forward. Soon after setting up the Communist International, Lenin, Stalin, Molotov et al. Realized that a vital requirement for world political warfare operations was to facilitate the immigration processes which would allow the movement and deployment of communist political armies from one nation with a minimum of legal immigration delays. Coupled with a plan to establish freedom of immigration was a campaign to give unhampered rights for those foreigners already established to carry on subversive activities. In other words, complete freedom of immigration, which in Bolshevik language was for the unhampered shifting of political armies, plus a campaign against deportation, which would permit the Red agents to operate without danger of being removed from their sector of operation. This double-edged program became sloganized as the fight for political asylum and the fight against deportation for political activity. In other words, the problem was to move Red political soldiers freely into all sectors and to prevent those subversive aliens already entrenched from being thrown out of the country. Now this again is a citation from Conquest via Immigration by Colonel Archibald Roosevelt, pages 3 and 5. Well, we all know how certain legal groups have gone to the courts to stop some individual from being deported or some other and whatnot. We have crypto-communist organizations in various ethnic quarter which are being used for this purpose. It's always to improve their power. It's always to diminish that of the old guard Christian Europeans. It will work as long as these people always act in a confused way before this policy. As long as people cannot differentiate between words and deeds and be able to tell from the deeds whether the words have any meaning at all. Any judge who is confronted with somebody who is stabbing a knife into the chest of an individual, even while that individual is proclaiming himself a lover of peace and a humanitarian, and you have to be able to differentiate the deceit from the act. And we don't have those kinds of people much anymore, because most of the people we have in the political realm are running dogs of this particular evil. But let's go forward. The decision to establish a worldwide organization to promote and facilitate the communist immigration and anti-deportation program in the non-communist world was made by the Communist International in 1922. Again, this is a citation from Conquest via Immigration by Colonel Archibald Roosevelt, page 5. Well, folks, they've been working at it and organizing long before this with much experience. Revolutionaries, for instance, were brought in for the French Terror, for the so-called French Revolution. I'm certain in my own mind that they were brought into England during the period of turmoil, of the Glorious Revolution and the Charles and James kingships in this particular area, because I have learned in my studies that as many as 9,000 hoodlums were available in London to go forth and intimidate anyone. The French Revolution also had the same kind of people. It was not so much a French Revolution as a terror revolution, a revolution of an ideological sort, utilizing hoodlums and the underground. The underground is an expression which is peculiarly related to Jewry and developed by them both because of their destructive ways and because of the reprisals that at one time could be aimed at them by authorities in wrath over these destructive deeds and ways. So let's bear that in mind and go forward to take a little study of one group which has been organized in the United States by Jewry to help control the United States for this global design. So let's do that, please. We all talk a great deal about the Anti-Defamation League of the B'nai B'rith, but few non-Zionists know as much about its activities as attorney, the Honorable Jack B. Tinney. While the ADL bureaucracy emphasizes its Jewish character for defensive purposes, it does not speak for American Jews. The political nature of its work is not revealed to the average Jewish contributor, and its activities in this field are carefully concealed from American Jewry and the general public under either ethnic or religious cloaks. The fears and complexes of the Jew are exploited by the bureaucracies that control and direct the network of organizations set up in its name and ostensibly for his protection. The laws of America are not sufficient, he is told. There must be a multitude of committees and councils, a vast interlocking series of organizations that will work for his interest alone. The Anti-Defamation League is one of the most aggressive of these Jewish agencies. Now, this is a citation from a little pamphlet, The Anti-Defamation League by Senator Jack B. Tinney, page 1, the front page. Now, the relative innocence or guilt of the Jewish population is not clear. It is clear that most Freemasons describe themselves as liberal. And it's also clear that something in the order of 80 to 90% of Jews declare themselves liberal. And it also is a matter of fact that organizations which are of the anti-defamation type are well supported. And I speak of M. Seligman D's Southern Poverty Law Organization and so forth. He is so well supported by Jewish money that he lives like a king almost. And there is almost more money than he knows how to spend. The organization has to expand. It advises the FBI, and it advises Jewish radio stations or those stations managed, influenced in regard to wicked people and so forth. Of course, there's no one more wicked than M. Seligman Dees himself, who, according to the divorce papers of his wife, while in Washington, D.C. on their 10th anniversary, forced her to watch him sodomize a young fellow employed by the National Endowment for the Arts. Well, what a fine fellow. This is the very same fellow who denounced on television conservative, well, Republicans or conservatives, I forget which, as being perverted, generally closet perverts or something of this sort. It also unfolds that he took a molestation type approach to their daughter, and is said to have been very flirty with the gay crowd as a tease, supposedly. We suppose that what he is a descendant of Sodom and Gomorrah, a Canaanite blooded person who cannot help but express what he is. So that culture is with him even to this time. But let us go forward with this look at the Anti-Defamation League, which includes people every bit as objectionable as M. Seligman Dees. Through its exploitation method and its appeals for funds, many American Jews have become obsessed with the idea that all non-Jews are either consciously and actively anti-Semitic or passive and potentially anti-Semitic. The scare propaganda of the ADL has served to perpetuate and intensify the persecution complex in the collective Jewish mind. This again is a citation from the Anti-Defamation League pamphlet by Senator Jack B. Tenney, the first page. Well, Senator Tenney may be a true believer in what he says, or he may be somewhat diplomatic here, but I do recall reading sometime in the past about the regimentation of Jews via the rabbis, the promulgation of something like 10,000 regulations and rules for life within the culture of Jewry. And it appears that this is a group that willingly becomes part of the group, part of the herd, as it were, and knows no other way, really. It has been said that the Jew carries the ghetto in his mind and will always construct a ghetto wherever he goes. But at any rate, it would be blamed on outsiders. You can bet on that. But let's go forward. It is currently estimated, declares a spokesman for the Joint Jewish Appeal, that 25%, or more than 20 million Americans, have an already rooted prejudice against their fellow citizens. This is, again, a citation from the Anti-Defamation League by Senator Jack B. Tenney, second page. Well, once again, this reinforces the indoctrination, as it were, as is asserted by Senator Tenney, of Jews, or it is a method of keeping Jews from straying from the herd, being a good shepherd, warning them of the wolves out there, the terrible Christians and whatnot, which they must annihilate to protect themselves. They must dislodge from positions of power to protect themselves, and they must make every effort to incarcerate and harm to protect themselves. It's for the greater good, you see. But let's go forward. Beyond the double doors of the American Jewish Committee and the Anti-Defamation League of B'nai B'rith is a single door. On it is lettered fact-finding, legal, and investigative divisions. Shall we enter? We are unwilling to guess about anti-Semitism, an ADL spokesman tells us. These officers have long maintained a close watch on the activities of democracy's bigoted enemies. Despite the double talk involved in the use of the term democracy, we understand what the spokesman is saying. Our glance follows banks of filing cabinets and, for a moment, We believe we are in the record department of the Federal Bureau of Investigation in Washington, D.C. Clerks are busy at the cabinets sorting and filing papers. Now, this is a citation from the Anti-Defamation League booklet, a pamphlet by Senator Jack B. Tinney, pages 2 and 3. Well, that's it, folks. A wrap. We're out of time again. This is iVideo. My name is John Savers. I'm your host. I do appreciate your tuning in. Hope to see you again at our next iVideo.